Hello, and welcome to DSC TV's coverage of the Sherborn Annual Town Meeting. I'm Dan Murphy, and right now, as we're waiting for our quorum to be reached, let's give a brief preview of tonight's meeting. Hopefully, throughout the past week or so, you've been seeing a preview going over the articles, and you should have received something in the mail discussing all the articles. Not included in my preview was sort of the advisory committee's recommendations on various articles, so I'll also be including that information, which was not previously available at the time of that preview. So right off the bat, we'll have some procedural articles. Article 1 is just to start the town meeting. Obviously, favorable action is recommended. In fact, favorable action is recommended on almost every article. There's a line item in Article 7, which no action is recommended. Article 15, no action is recommended, and Articles 27, 28, and 29, no action is recommended. And I'll get to what those articles specifically are as I kind of continue to run down on the preview. In case you're wondering, though, Article 15 pertains to making the treasurer an appointed position, and the line item that has not been approved that no action is recommended for in Article 7 pertains to replacing the carpeting in Sherborn Town Hall, and Article 27 is to amend the zoning map. And we have reached quorum, so let's get to that.
Sherborn's 238th Annual Town Meeting will now come to order. Town Clerk Carol Marple has confirmed that the warrant was properly posted by the town constables and that the tellers for tonight's meeting have been sworn in. I'll begin this evening with a couple of reminders. They're important, so pay attention. If you have to leave the auditorium for any reason, you must leave through this rear door. You need to turn in your ballots, and if you are planning on returning, you need to ask for a pass to come back into the hall. You will then be given your ballots back when you come in. Secondly, please set your cell phones on courtesy mode, and if you do want to take a call, please leave the room. 3, please do not stand or sit in the aisles, especially the stairs that are going up in the back balcony. Obviously, you have to line up at the mic. You can stand there, but try not to clog the aisle. 4th, we always welcome non-voters to our annual meeting. Some non-voters that we anticipate may answer questions this evening are seated up front. Other non-voting visitors should sit in the back, the balcony to my right. And 5th, there are assistive listening devices that are available. If you would like to use one, please see Pat Cassell. She is at a table in that rear cross aisle. And I remind everyone that you should speak directly into a mic, because it's the mics that feed the audio to the assisted living devices and also to the recordings. I'd like to introduce the people who are on the stage. To your left is the advisory committee, and I'll begin with Mary Wolf, chairperson, who is sitting right next to me. Next to her is Vice Chair Ben Williams, then Barbara Kantorski, George Morrill, Russ Pollock, Vicki Rellis, Lanny Rubin, Jeff Rudin, and Jeff Waldron. To your right, immediately next to me, is Town Council Barbara San Andre, then Town Clerk Carol Marple, Selectman and Chair Mike Jaimo, Selectman Paul DeRensis, Selectman Peter Caruso, our Town Administrator David Williams, and then we also have our Town Treasurer and our Assistant Town Administrator sitting at the end. We're going to begin, as we always do, hearing brief reports from the Board of Selectmen and the Advisory Committee about the state of the town, And then following their reports, I'll review some of the rules of the road with you, and then we can proceed with this evening's business. We're going to begin with Mike Jimo.
Good evening. Welcome everyone to Town Meeting, our annual test of direct democracy. In our system of government, you are the town's legislative body, and only you have the power to authorize the expenditure of funds and amend our laws. Through that power, you control the future of our town to a great extent. The Board of Selectmen is the town's chief executive body. We take direction from the town meeting vote, and we exercise our best judgment about how to implement the decisions of town meeting. Through the town administrator and other administrators and departments, we administer the business of the town that is not in the charge of other officials. And we also recommend actions to town meeting for your consideration. This year, we mark a milestone as we will convert with the upcoming election from a 3-person Board of Selectmen, which has been the situation for many years, to a 5-member board. On the many occasions when I'm tempted to think otherwise, I realize that the town really must love its selectmen because it went and made 2 more of them. Now a few comments on the past year. With the retirement of our longtime town treasurer, Pete Hoagland, late in 2014, our town administrator, Dave Williams, has served as interim treasurer pending the upcoming election to fill the final year of the term. The Board of Selectmen felt that this was a good opportunity to follow the recommendations of the consultants who studied our town and convert from an elected to an appointed treasurer like a majority of Massachusetts communities have. An article for that purpose was narrowly defeated at the special town meeting last fall. Despite our good fortune in having well-qualified residents who have so far been able to fill the position capably and a qualified candidate for this year's election, the board continues to believe that it's in the town's best interest to have the treasurer appointed. We've sponsored an article on tonight's warrant that would place a question on the 2016 ballot asking the voters to convert treasurer from an elected to an appointed position. Our town accountant also retired, and we were fortunate to find a very well-qualified replacement as the selectmen have continued to drive efforts to try and optimize the structure of the town's financial team so that we get the most bang for our buck from the people in charge of handling our bucks. The governance task force has thought long and hard about this subject as well, and it has an article on tonight's warrant that the selectmen enthusiastically endorse, which would facilitate a more coordinated approach to the town's financial functions. We are very concerned that the town's tax rate and average total residential tax bill remain among the state's highest. Among other concerns, this makes it increasingly difficult for many seniors to stay in town. Growing the tax base remains an important objective, even as the selectmen, other town boards and committees, and town residents generally engage in thoughtful debate over the potential impacts and benefits of particular proposals. At the initiative of the selectmen and under the valiant leadership of Water Commissioner Roger Demler, a Water and Sewer Options Study Committee with representatives from various boards and the general public has met regularly over the past year to investigate the potential for creating water and/or sewer service districts in the town center. The recent snowy and cold winters showcased the strength of our police, fire, EMT, and CM&D teams as they kept up with the record-breaking pace and number of storms and kept the town safe under trying conditions. The new crop of potholes will further stress our already challenged road budget as the annual town appropriations and the state funding allow us to address only a portion of our road repair needs. Sherborn is a small town with high expectations. One of our greatest attributes is a large pool of talented, energetic, community-minded residents. At a time when cynicism about government is at a high level nationally, it's a tribute to our spirit of community that we have so many who are willing to devote their time to making Sherborn a better place. The Board of Selectmen acknowledges and appreciates the valuable service provided by the town's hundreds of volunteers who serve on boards and committees and assist in other capacities. In closing, I note that our town government is a collaborative effort among people who do, will, and can have differences of opinion about policies, priorities, and methods of managing the town's business. In all of our efforts, we should bear in mind that we are in service to the town and its interests. Doing all we can to foster a culture of respectful interaction despite differing views will advance the community's interests. It appears to me that we've come a long way in this regard, but we also still have a good distance to go as a town. To the extent that we allow the destructive aspects of political culture to take hold, we detract from the business at hand and we damage the credibility of our government. The town moderator traditionally cautions town meeting speakers to maintain respectful interaction and not make comments directed at the person rather than the issue. This is also good advice for all our efforts at Town Hall, and I call on all of my colleagues who serve the town as elected or appointed officials, administrators, and employees to heed it throughout the year. And thank you, and enjoy town meeting.
Thank you, Mike, and I'd like to correct, I'm 3 minutes into it and I already made a mistake. At the end of the table, we do not have our town treasurer. We have Irene, our town accountant. Sorry, Irene. Mary, would you like to speak?
Good evening. Advisory has several modifications to make to our recommendations on articles as they appear in our report, which you may have with you tonight. I'll be addressing these modifications individually as the appropriate articles are brought to the floor for consideration, so I won't go through them now. Right now, I would like to say, however, that it is a real pleasure for the advisory committee tonight to come here to move votes on warrant articles which, taken together, will maintain or expand town services and at the same time offer residents a total of $322,158 in tax relief. I draw your attention in particular to Article 23, where $195,699 taken by the town in taxes in previous years and now sitting in free cash will be used to reduce the tax rate for 2016. These monies will be combined with $126,459, which the proposed budget does not tax, but which we could have taxed under Prop 2.5, to make the total of $322,000. The town's tax rate for 2015 is $20.32. Every $11,000 not taken in taxes for the coming year reduces that tax rate by about a penny. With assessors' valuations at a steady rate, the end result would be with the proposed budget would be 29 cents off the tax rate for 2016, bringing it down to 2003. With some modest increases in valuations, we could possibly crack the $20 barrier. This would be huge for our town because many people have heard it expressed, I feel it myself, that the $20 tax rate is a psychological barrier for individuals looking to purchase homes in the town. And so if we can crack that number, that would be just fabulous. So this is all very, very good news. But, as we said last year, and we now repeat, the budget presented here tonight rests on a foundation that is by no means secure or confirmed for the future. Once again, I would call your attention to what I would refer to as arbitrary and capricious savings in out-of-district special education costs, which are all contained in the Pine Hill budget. These costs they together contributed a large portion of the monies that the town needed to fill its gap in funding its assessment at the regional schools. This is the second year in a row that we have seen a decrease in OOD costs for the town, but these costs really are arbitrary and capricious. They can come into town and leave town. They have left, but now they can come back to us sort of without warning, and they are needs and they needed to be funded, and we have to provide that funding if we're called to do so. So we can't rest and think that our budget will never contain these funds. I think I mentioned in our advisory report that Dover this year was hit with over $350,000 new in these costs. We would be naive if we thought this could not happen to us as well. Another major cost to our budget is the cost of health care. Healthcare costs for town and regional school employees continue to climb. Last year, my remarks on this evening noted that the cost of employee benefits had risen 7.3% over the previous year. This year, those costs have risen yet again, okay, even more than that. So, and these costs do not include the $100,000 we now deposit each year into our OPEB trust fund, nor do they include the $0 that we are not providing for regional OPEBs. So this is a problem. And I would, again, I ask the Board of Selectmen to address the issue of health care benefits as soon as possible. This is a cost that there are ways we can control, we should control, and we must control them. So we've done a fair job at managing our expenses, and as a result of that prudent management, we have the tax relief that is the focus of this year's advisory report. But as I have just noted, we have one cost, healthcare benefits, which we know for a fact will increase, and another cost, OOD expenses, which we can expect not to decrease further, and which may in fact increase in one or more years in the future. I would add a third caution for a potential gotcha for us, and that is the changing demographics at the region. Our current operating budget assessment at the region is basically based on Sherborn students making up 46.63% of the region's population. Although our assessment percentage has increased slightly each year over the past few years, Dover still pays more than half of our regional costs. But that is set to change in a very few years. And I raise that tonight so that people start thinking about where this is going. We currently run approximately 20 students less than Dover in each class at the elementary level. The proportion there shrinks further in Dover's favor at the region because they have a number of more than we do of children moving off to private school. So the proportion change is not in our favor there. I will point out that for FY16, for the lowest grades, that is kindergarten 1 and 2, Dover's student population is pretty much equal to that of Sherborn. When those classes reach the region, Sherborn can expect significantly increased costs in its assessment there. So, you know, I hope that we will take time before that happens as an emergency situation to think about ways that we can make some changes that will enable us to weather that population storm that actually we can be pretty sure is coming. And I'll address that particular issue and others in more detail. This is not the place for it, but in other forums. But tonight, I raise them really as a caution for you. The focus, however, tonight should be on the good news, that in 5 years, through prudent management of our funds, we have gone from a deficit of $500,000 to tax relief of over $300,000. So enjoy this evening, enjoy voting for the budget that will make this possible.
Thank you, Mary. I'll begin by discussing our rules and procedures, and I want to assure you that they are not some strange language that's meant to frustrate you, just the opposite. They are consistent and usually logical steps that allow you to anticipate what will happen next and to wade into the debate if you so choose. Please read the moderator's message in the advisory report and pay attention to my remarks so that we can conduct our meeting in a fair, orderly, and predictable way. The aim is to protect the right of the minority to be heard and at the same time allow the majority to move ahead and complete the business of this town meeting. If you don't understand something about the process, please ask me. The procedures of town meeting are different from what you may know from a club or a fraternal organization. Town meeting is our legislative branch of local government, and its procedures are more akin to that of a parliament or Congress. We are a deliberative body. We make motions, we amend them, we hear debate, we tweak, we adjust, we consider options, and then we vote. It's not an election. You can't vote by absentee ballot. You must be present to vote. Our unique town meeting procedures in Sherborn are based on state statute, local bylaws, best practices of the Massachusetts Moderators Association, and local tradition. Please note that I did not mention Major Roberts. A quick review. First of all, the agenda for tonight's meeting is the warrant. A copy was mailed to every household. If you forgot your copy, we did have a few extras that were available in the rear. I don't know if they're gone, but it's always printed on the outside. Please bring this to the meeting. The articles in the warrant are simply a notice of what the topics of consideration are going to be. For anything to happen, we must have a motion made, and that then we can discuss whether we do or do not want to take action and what that particular action might be. To begin the business of offering motions, I will recognize a member of the advisory committee to make all of the initiating main motions. If you wish to speak on a motion, you must ask the moderator, that's me, to be recognized. To save time, I ask that you not ask that from your seat, but to go and stand at one of the two microphones. One is right down here in front of me, the other is in the back cross aisle, and wait in line. Once I recognize you, please state your name and address, and then make your comments. Your comments must be relevant to the motion. The traditional phrase is within the four corners of the motion, and they must be limited to 2 minutes. I will not recognize the speaker a second time unless all others who wish to speak have had the opportunity to do so. If you do receive recognition to make a second comment, it must contain new information. My objective is always to move the proceedings along as efficiently as possible. As my predecessor wisely counseled, once something's been said, everyone else doesn't have to repeat it. Let's complete our business efficiently and before we're all frazzled, and I'm hoping we'll have a one-nighter. Because thorough presentations can answer questions before they're asked and thereby actually shorten debate, I will allow up to 5 minutes for presenters who have previously filed a request form to make a presentation. We have a timekeeper in the front row this evening who will raise a red card when your allotted time to speak is up. I intend to be firm in observing the time limits. I hope you will understand if I interrupt you when your time is up, and better yet, see the red card and stop yourself. All alternate main motions and amendments to a main motion must be submitted in writing to the town clerk, who has forms for that purpose. And they're right here and they're also in the back. No more than 2 amendments can be on the floor at the same time, and a vote is first taken on the amendments and then on the main motion. Sometimes the main motion made by advisory is a negative motion. That is a motion that recommends we take no action. A negative motion must be defeated before a substitute affirmative motion can be put before the town meeting. This sometimes is a little confusing, and I will offer a fuller explanation when we get to that situation. Our normal procedure is to use a voice vote on all motions. We will have a count of hands by the tellers if any voice vote is not clear to me, or if 7 voters question the vote immediately after it is declared. On motions requiring a 2/3 majority, we will try for a unanimous voice vote. If the voice vote is not unanimous, but is clearly 2/3 to the moderator's ear, under Sherborn's bylaw, the moderator may declare that the motion has been adopted by at least 2/3 of those voting. Again, if it's not clear to me, or if 7 voters challenge the vote immediately after it is declared, we will have a count of hands by the tellers. And also remember, at any point, 50 voters may request a vote by secret ballot. At our last procedural point, I will read only the titles of the articles printed in your advisory committee report, and tightly summarize main motions when and if I repeat them. If at any time you would like to have the complete text of a motion restated, please ask. And also we will have running next to us as we're discussing the motions, we'll have a title and a summary for the motions to your left. And finally, is that not happening?
We're ready up here.
Okay. Okay. And finally, a reminder, political debate can be intense, but tonight in this place we gather to promote the common good of all Sherborn citizens, not just our own self-interest. I remind you to speak with respect and civility. Personal remarks or speculations about others' motives are always out of order, as is applause. And I'm experienced enough to know that simply repeating something with escalating passion usually works against you. Tonight we may agree and disagree, but tomorrow we'll still be neighbors and friends in one community. So let's begin with Article 1 of the warrant.
Article 1.
Article 1, Town Reports.
Ms. Moderator,
Ms. Wolf.
I move that the reports of the town officers and committees as contained in the annual report be accepted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Yes. Would you like to move to the mic? Yes.
Good evening. I'm Catherine Sturgis, 38 Hunting Lane. I have been chairman of the governance task force the past 2 years. And when we prepared our annual report, you do it in early January, and part of our report made mention of a notice of intent for a warrant article to the selectmen to bring forth Mass General Laws, Chapter 43C, Section 11, for the establishment of a consolidated Department of Municipal Finance. Once the wording for the current Article 14 on this warrant, the finance director and accountant, was completed, the task force felt that the establishment of the Consolidated Department of Municipal Finance was not necessary at this time. And the reason I bring this up now is I anticipate that we will be sunsetted at the end of this meeting, and not necessarily our report would get in next year's town meeting, but I felt it was necessary that that hanging notice of intent be addressed. I also would like to mention that Chuck Yawn's name is missing from the list of our members, and he was a very active member. And thank you to all the members of our committee, and thank you.
Is there any other comment or debate? If not, all those in favor of accepting the town reports, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Article 2, unpaid bills.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Williams.
I move that the sum of $7,762.50 be transferred from free cash in the Treasury for the purpose of paying bills dated 2014 from for the Selectmen, American Alarm, $88. For CM&D, $7,321.61 for Global Montello Group. Again, for the Selectmen, $268.85 for WB Mason. For CM&D, $84.04 for Atlantic Brooms.
Is there any debate on the motion? Oh, Mr. Waldron, were you going to say?
Second.
Okay. Is there any debate on the motion? If not, we'll proceed to the vote. By state statute, this requires a vote of 4/5. So we'll try for a unanimous voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Article 3, the omnibus budget.
Madam Moderator,
Yes.
I move that the numbered items appearing in the Advisory Committee's fiscal year 2016 omnibus budget and the amount indicated in the column under the heading Recommended Fiscal Year 2016 be called over by the moderator, and if no objection is made, that such amounts be raised and appropriated for the purpose specified. except that where a transfer is indicated by a numbered footnote, the specific amount shall be provided by such transfer that the salaries for the various town officers, including those indicated by numbered footnotes, be fixed effective July 1st, 2015, as specified in the omnibus budget that becomes effective pursuant to this motion, and that any item to which objection is made be separately considered and disposed of in accordance with the vote of the town.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll be repeating our usual procedure. I will read aloud the amount of each line, and if you would like to have that line held and discussed, please just call out from your seat, hold, and then in the end, we will go back and review those held lines. We'll begin with general government. 122, salaries, selectmen, $239,176. $239,176. Wishful thinking. 122, selectmen expenses, $27,950. Legal counsel, $151, $65,000. Solid waste expenses, line 430, $243. Assessors, $243,000, I'm sorry. Assessors, $141, assessors' salaries, $104,187. 141, assessors' expenses, $14,080. Treasurer's salaries, $48,503. Treasurer expenses, $12,345. Tax collector, $146, tax collector salaries, $97,574. 146, tax collector expenses, $19,193. Accountant salaries, 135 line, $164,568. Line 135, accountant expenses, $26,402. 135, accountant annual audit, $25,000. 131, advisory salaries, $467. 131, advisory expenses, $3,400. 175, planning board salaries, $44,898. 175, planning board expenses, $1,580. 161, town clerk salaries, $86,889. 161, town clerk expenses, $5,355. Town clerk dog expenses, $0. 162, election salaries, $29,967. 162, election expenses, $15,207. 192, town buildings salaries, $0. 192, town buildings expenses, $204,000. 210, police salaries, $1,421,123. 210, police expenses, $123,429. 2010, police cruisers, $85,200. 220, fire and rescue salaries, $363,181. 220, fire and rescue expenses, $100,750. 241, building inspector salaries, $70,606. 241, building inspector's expenses, $3,635. Minuteman Regional High School, $0. 301, Dover Sherborn Regional School District, assessment, $9,301,065. 302, Tri-County Vocational, $1,303. Sherborn School Committee. Sherborn Schools, line 303, $6,565,287. Line 316, Norfolk Agricultural School, $94,081. Line 401, CM&D salaries, $551,051. 401 CM&D expenses, $399,973. 512 Board of Health salaries, $63,729. 512 Board of Health expenses, $60,862. Line 610, library salaries, $273,403. $273,403. Line 610, library expenses, $134,045. Line 650, recreation salaries, 0. Line 650, recreation expenses, $15,000. Line 635, farm pond salaries, 0. 635, farm pond expenses, 0. Council on Aging, 541 Council on Aging salaries, $110,581. 541 Council on Aging expenses, $26,460. Line 171, conservation salaries, $47,326. Line 171, conservation expenses, $5,053. Line 543, veterans salaries, 0. Line 543, veterans expenses, line 6,250. Historic Commission, line 691, $500 even. Line 433, recycling expenses, $4,040. Cemeteries, line 491, salaries, 0. Line 491E, cemetery expenses, $59,110. Elder housing, 545. Elderly housing salaries, 0. 545E, elderly housing expenses, 0. Insurance and employee benefits, line 919, general insurance, $203,295. Line 910E, employee benefits, $2,447,260. Line 911, other post-employment benefits, $100,000. Debt service, line 710, $1,675,000, $330. Reserve account, line 990, $100,000. So, check me, I have 2 holds, Tri-County vocational and police salaries. Is there any discussion over the ones over which there was no hold? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Nay. The person walking to the mic, do you want to talk about a held item?
Yes.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Don't worry. Motion passes. Okay, we're going to go to the held items, and the first one is police salaries. Yes.
Ms. Moderator?
Yes.
I move that $1,421,123 be raised and appropriated for police salaries, omnibus budget line 210S.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate? Susie?
Hi, Susan Tyler, 26 Western Avenue. I'm going to stand back because I have a loud voice. I have a question on this. When this was presented to the selectmen, back at the beginning of this whole process, it was that we are eliminating the animal control officer. Therefore, that would be under the salary line item. We're eliminating that apparently come July 1st. And I'm wondering if we're not jumping the gun on this, because at this point, my understanding is we do not have an agreement with anyone to assume the duties and help Sherborn with the animal control. So should this line item at least be funded until we have an agreement and we know what's going to happen come July 1st?
Okay, can I send that question to Dave Williams?
Basically, we've been working with.
I can't hear.
Dave.
We've been working on a regional effort through MAPC, and the police chief has been leading the charge on that. And Basically, it's a number of towns involved in it: Sherborn, Ashland, Natick, Framingham. Animal control duties would be covered under mutual aid agreements, and MAPC is drafting temporary agreements between individual towns so that we can utilize the Framingham lockup. If the chief would like to add more to that, then Lachlan's comments.
So,
Do you have a second comment?
so it sounds like we're working on an agreement and regionalizing, we're working on an agreement and a temporary, but do we have something right now? Shouldn't there be something in for the salary line item until that point that we have an agreement? Thank
No,
you.
we know what we're doing as of July 1st. It's not that the need for our animal control services are going away. Those still are going to be covered, and I think that's what the chief can speak to.
Chief Thompson, did you want to speak?
Please.
Go ahead.
Very briefly, we do have a plan in place to utilize the town of Natick and the town of Framingham animal control personnel to assist the town while we go through this transition. So we do have a plan in place. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any further comment? If not, we're going to proceed with the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. And the other hold was on Tri-County, yes.
I move that $1,303 be raised and appropriated for Tri-County Vocational Assessment, line 302E.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate on this?
I put the hold on that because I just wanted to clarify for people why there was such a large discrepancy with what was printed in our report. We do not receive the actual assessment from Tri-County in time for our public hearing each year, so the accountant provides a projected number, usually the amount appropriated the previous year. Last Friday, in advance of the meeting, we received our actual Tri-County assessment for FY16, and I'm happy to say that rather than $29,532, it is only $1,303. Therefore, the recommended budget does not tax the difference between those two items, and so we're moving the $1,303.
Thank you. Yes, in the rear.
Jonathan Dallas, 100 North Main Street, actually the representative to the Tri-County Regional Vocational Technical High School School Committee. The $1,303 represents Sherman's share of the capital purchases that we're doing at the school. We're in the middle of a project to rebuild our boilers in the school. We currently do not have any students, but as our agreement, we do have to pick up our share of the capital purchases, and that's one of the reasons. One of the reasons our assessments are a little bit late is we need to wait and see what the state assessments are going to be so we can figure our budgets correctly. Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to Article 4, Supplemental Appropriations.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Rubin.
I move favorable action in the sum of $338,797 be appropriated, and that for this appropriation, $142,433 be funded by the overlay release, and that $196,364 be transferred from free cash in the Treasury for the purpose of supplementing the fiscal year 2015 omnibus operating budget as printed in the handout for this meeting. The items are snow and ice removal expenses, $144,630. Police Department overtime, $85,000. Snow and ice removal payroll, $54,954. General insurance, $25,000. Town accountant payroll, $16,000. Library, various building repairs, $10,113. Transfer station improvements, $3,100, again for a total of $338,797.
I second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to Article 5, Highway Funds.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Relis?
I move that the Board of Selectmen be authorized to apply for, accept, and expend any state aid for highway improvements made available to the town under the authority of General Laws, Chapter 90, and that any necessary borrowing in anticipation of such state aid be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Article 6, revolving funds.
Ms. Moderator,
Yes.
advisory will be making 7 separate motions under Article 6. Firstly, I move that the Council on Aging revolving fund be reauthorized pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, that the Council on Aging be authorized to spend up to $30,000 from the remaining funds and anticipated revenues in such revolving fund without further appropriation for salaries, expenses, and contractual services required to operate transportation, meal, and special activity programs during fiscal year 2016, and that such revolving fund be credited with the balance remaining in such revolving fund at the end of fiscal year 2015, and with all fees and charges received during fiscal year 2016 from persons participating in Council on Aging programs.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Morrell.
I move that the Board of Health revolving fund be reauthorized pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, that the Board of Health be authorized to spend up to $5,000 from the anticipated revenues in such revolving fund without further appropriation for salaries, expenses, and contractual services required to operate flu shot clinics during fiscal year 2016, and that such revolving fund be credited with all fees and charges received during fiscal year 2016 in connection with the conduct of flu shot clinics.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Passes unanimously.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Kantorsky.
I move that the Recycling Committee revolving fund be reauthorized pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and 1/2, that the Recycling Committee be authorized to spend up to $2,000 from the anticipated revenues in such revolving fund without further appropriation for expenses and contractual services required to operate a program to sell composting bins during fiscal year 2016, and that such revolving fund be credited with all fees and charges received during fiscal year 2016 in connection with the sale of composting bins.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Ms. Moderator,
Ms. Wolf.
I move that the Town Forest Committee revolving fund be reauthorized pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, that the Town Forest Committee be authorized to spend up to $5,000 from the anticipated revenues in such revolving fund without further appropriation for expenses and contractual services required to operate a program to sell firewood during fiscal year 2016, and that such revolving fund be credited with all fees and charges received during fiscal year 2016 in connection with the sale of firewood.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Williams.
I move that the town establish an Elder Housing Committee revolving fund pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, and that the Elder Housing Committee be authorized to spend up to $183,802 from the anticipated revenues in such revolving fund without further appropriation for expenses and contractual services required to operate Woodhaven Elder Housing during fiscal year 2016, and that such revolving fund be credited with all fees and charges received during fiscal year 2016 in connection with the operation of Woodhaven Elder Housing.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have a comment, Ms. Moderator.
Yes.
This again is by way of explanation. As we noted in our report, we are recommending the establishment of 2 new revolving funds for Farm Pond and for elder housing. Although these were always separate accounts in the past, money was transferred back and forth between them and the town's general fund. But those transfers were not always consistent, so we now recommend setting up these separate accounts as revolving funds with no interaction with the town's general fund.
Thank you. Any other comment? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Waldron.
I move that the town establish a farm pond revolving fund pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, and that the Farm Pond Advisory Committee be authorized to spend up to $135,547 from the anticipated revenues in such revolving fund without further appropriation for expenses and contractual services required to operate and manage Farm Pond during the fiscal year 2016, and that such revolving fund be credited with all fees and charges received during fiscal year 2016 in connection with the operation of Farm Pond.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have a comment, Ms. Moderator.
Yes.
To make the Farm Pond Fund whole, because there were monies needing to be transferred back from the general fund, Advisory recently approved a transfer of $28,477 from the reserve fund to the Farm Pond account. The Board of Selectmen and Advisory have both voted to make that extra amount available for part of the spending limit for the Farm Pond revolving fund, so we are recommending a revised FY16 limit of $135,547.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Rudin.
I move that the town establish a scenic road tree revolving fund pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, and that the Planning Board be authorized to spend up to $5,000 from the anticipated revenues in such revolving fund without further appropriation for expenses and contractual services required to purchase and plant trees during fiscal year 2016, and that such revolving fund be credited with all fees and charges received during fiscal year 2016 in connection with any Scenic Road Act decisions.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Article 7, capital expenditures.
Ms. Moderator,
Yes.
Advisory will be making 7 separate motions under Article 7.
Line 1, CM&D, 2 one-ton pickup trucks.
Ms. Moderator,
Yes.
I move that the sum of $180,000 be appropriated to purchase 2 one-ton pickup trucks for the Community Maintenance Development Department, and that to meet this appropriation, $7,290 be transferred from articles for which projects have been completed or abandoned as follows. Article 9 of the 2007 Annual Town Meeting, Western Avenue Engineering, $3.20. Article 11 of the 2008 Annual Town Meeting, Feasibility Study, $1,270.93. Article 37 of the 2008 Annual Town Meeting, Western Avenue traffic camera, $5,955.31. Article 8, line item 4 of the 2012 annual town meeting, fire equipment brush cutter, 10-year unspent bond proceeds, $60.56. And that the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, be authorized to borrow the balance of $172,710 pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 7(9), or any other applicable statute, provided, however, that this appropriation shall not take effect until the town votes to accept from the limitation on total taxes imposed by the General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C(k), Proposition 2.5, the amounts required to pay the principal and interest on the bonds and notes authorized by this vote.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I have a request for presentation from Ed Wagner. Is he here to make a presentation?
Mr. Wagner,
Yes.
the M&D Director, is here to answer questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone, there's someone standing at the rear mic. Yes.
Hi, Susan Tyler, 26 Weston Avenue.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Susan Tyler, 26 Weston Avenue.
Okay.
Now I have a question. The line item 1 in one spot says that there are 2 pickup trucks, and then the first line in the paragraph below it says that they're dump trucks. Now, I look at a difference between a dump truck and a pickup truck as being 2 different things. So if we could have an explanation on that, what are they?
Okay.
They're pickup trucks with dumps on them.
Thank you. Any other comment? Yes, in the rear. Go ahead, yes.
Ed Wagner, Director of CM&D. For clarification, they are 2 one-ton dump trucks. They're going to be F-550s.
Okay, thank you. Yes, was there someone coming down the stairs who wanted to speak?
Stuart Smith, 29 Coolidge Street. These are classified as Ford 550 trucks. I know exactly what they cost because I just bought one. This is about $60,000 more than they would cost. So I have a problem with the number of $180,000 when it should be around $120,000. Somebody want to explain that to me? And I'm talking fully equipped with a dump body on it and a plow on it and everything else. These are way overpriced.
Thank you. Ed, do you want to respond to that question?
We'll be purchasing this off of a municipal bid. These are quoted prices to us.
I sense another question coming. Yes.
We need to shop around. This is way too expensive.
Are there any other comments or questions? If not, we'll proceed to the vote. And this, because this involves a Proposition 2.5 override borrowing, it requires a 2/3 majority. So we'll try for a majority voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Nay. Oh, okay. I think we're going to need to do a card count. So, you were handed a yellow card in addition to your ballot. If you could get your yellow card out, and I would also remind you at this point that no one please leave the room and everyone please stay in your seat to facilitate counting. All of those in favor who want to vote aye, if you could please raise high your yellow card, and the tellers will be counting your cards.
The yellow cards.
Tellers, have you completed your aye votes? Are you all scored away on your aye votes? think you can put your cards down now. I think we got all the ayes. Okay. Those opposed, nay. Please raise your yellow card.
Yeah. We need somebody. We need somebody on the prevailing side.
Are the tellers in the rear okay? Have you counted everything? Okay, I think everybody could put your cards down, please. Oh, I beg your pardon. They're still counting in the back corner.
Because we think it's important and then you speak.
This thing just means you can come in the center, down.
Okay. There are 243 voters that are checked in, and the total tally is less than that, which is a good start. We have 57 yes votes and 159 no votes. The motion fails. Yes.
Hi, Marion Neutra, 25 Prospect Street. I voted against this because very little information was presented, and the reasoning for the amount was challenged, but there was no additional information provided. So in the interest of fairness to CM&D, I propose that we give the proponent a chance to defend the amount that he's proposed. If he can give us more information, I'm willing to hear it. If not, the vote stands as
Marion,
as
you would
voted.
have, what you have to do is make a vote to make a motion to reconsider.
Okay. With that introduction, I make a motion to reconsider.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to reconsider that issue. The motion to reconsider requires the 2/3 majority. So I will start off with a voice vote. All those in favor of reconsideration?
Discussion on this motion.
On the, we can discuss whether you want to reconsider.
That's what I was discussing.
It has to be related to, are we going to reconsider?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly right. So the reason to reconsider is because our CM&D director does have a presentation on the need for these trucks, and we would like to get that information in front of you for the vote. Well, the mic is not on, I think. Now it's on? Good. Our CM&D director does have a presentation addressing the need for these trucks, and we wanted to get that information in front of you in the interests of a full decision.
Okay. There's someone standing at the rear. Are you discussing the merits of a reconsideration or the discussion?
Yes, I am.
Okay, yes.
Richard Robinson, 117 Mill Street. I think that reconsideration would be in order if we were to hear about the pricing of the issue, not the need for the issue, not the need for the trucks. The vote, as I understood it, had a great deal to do with the question of the price, not whether this community needs it. Until there's more information coming about why this figure is so much higher than on the face of it, it seems as though we should be paying. I don't see a reason for more discussion and another vote.
Am I alone in, I think we've had several people comment that it is difficult to hear the people speaking at the rear mic. Perhaps someone, I don't know if a tech support person is here that they can deal with the mic. At the moment, we are discussing whether we want to reconsider. And we will vote on reconsideration, and then we will proceed, if it passes, to the original main motion, and we can hear further information about whether or not to buy the dump truck, or dump trucks, or whatever they are. So do you have a comment about whether we should reconsider?
I have a question.
Yes.
If reconsideration,
I-
George Shea, 19 Deerfield Road, Sherborn, Massachusetts. If the motion to reconsider passes, does that allow the original, does it allow this body to amend the original motion, or the original motion?
Yes.
For the purchase? Yes or
Yes.
no? Yes?
Yes.
So applying that yes to the amount of $180,000, that could be amended downward?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is there somebody who wants to talk about reconsideration?
Peter Lifford, Doppingbrook Road. I just wanted to ask, is there a capital budget report on this? And if there is, then reconsideration to hear it might be worthwhile.
The capital budget report is usually not requested on the floor of town meeting, but it is printed in the back of the advisory committee report, if anyone who wants to look to see what they had to say.
I can speak to that.
Yes, Ben Williams is going to speak to that.
Capital budget did recommend this purchase at that amount.
Peter, did you hear that answer? Okay. All right. Is there somebody else coming to make? No, somebody's turning the other way. Okay. We're going to vote to reconsider. It's a 2/3. All those in favor of reconsideration, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Well, I think we need to take account. I think that failed by 2/3, but I think we need to take account. Tellers, if you are opposed to reconsideration, please raise, or if you're in favor of reconsideration, I beg your pardon, please raise your yellow cards. If you would otherwise vote aye. Could I ask people who are not tellers to please take their seats? I'm trying to figure out if the tellers are still counting or not.
Yeah, I think we're all done. I think so. Yeah. You gonna price it out?
Excuse me. We're all set. Once again, there were 243 quorum voters, and the results are yes, 92, no, 120. The motion fails to reconsider. So we'll be moving on to line 2.
Madam Moderator,
Yes.
I move that $45,000 be transferred from free cash in the Treasury for dry hydrant maintenance.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, I guess not. That gentleman was just walking by the mic. If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Line 3.
Madam Moderator,
Yes, Ms. Relis.
I move that $13,500 be transferred from free cash in the Treasury for the installation of fencing at the transfer station.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and I think there's discussion in the rear.
I'm Carol Rubenstein, 57 Oldfield Drive, and chair of the Recycling Committee. I just want to let everyone know that the Recycling Committee voted to support this capital item.
Did everyone hear that? Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Line 4. Town building surge protection.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Pollak.
I move that $20,000 be transferred from free cash in the Treasury for the installation of surge protection in town buildings.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Line 5, Town Hall Public Area Carpet Replacement.
Madam Moderator,
Yes, Ms. Kantorsky.
I move that no action be taken.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that no action be taken. This is our first negative motion. You understand that if you vote aye in favor of the motion, you are saying that no action should be taken. That is, no public area carpet replacement will occur. If you happen to disagree with that, what you want to do is vote nay. You want to oppose the motion to take no action. If your side then should prevail, if you should win the vote, then you need to be prepared to make a substitute motion that says, yes, I move that the public area carpet replacement go forward. Everybody get that?
A point of information, Madam Moderator?
Yes.
What we're voting on is the funding of the carpet replacement. The carpet replacement is expected to take place using different funds. So even if you want the carpets replaced because you've seen them, you can feel free to vote for this no action.
Okay. Everybody got that?
Yes.
Even though it's a negative motion, it's going to happen, but it's going to happen another way. Do you want to speak, Elliot? Okay.
Elliot Taylor, 30 North Main Street. I'm opposed to any expenditures on the town hall until they fix the ventilating system. It's been noisy since day one. I've complained about it since day one. And we have a meeting, we have to turn the ventilator off because it makes too damn much noise. I've said it over and over again, and, well, nobody listens to me, you know that. And so I'm opposed to any expenditures at the town hall until you fix that. Also, the lighting in the parking lot and on the front steps is dangerous, outrageous, and should be corrected immediately.
If there are no other comments, we'll move forward to the motion to take no action, that is, not appropriate money to perform this action. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Line 6, Town Hall Parking and Access Study.
Ms. Moderator,
Yes.
I move that $10,000 be transferred from free cash in the Treasury for a study of the parking and access at Town Hall.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Madam Moderator.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike Charmo, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. We support this article unanimously. The purpose of this expenditure would be to have an engineering study for parking and access at Town Hall in contemplation that the library project is going to make an already tight site even tighter. A couple of years ago, the access road behind the police station was shut off. The parking has been reconfigured a couple of times, but it's still very congested in terms of parking spaces. And this would be the ability to get an engineer in there to speak with the people about the library project in terms of their staging needs and where their vehicles may be going, and to figure out a way to accommodate access and parking to Town Hall during that project. And that's the purpose of this study.
Any other comments? If not, all those in favor of passing this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Line 7, Sherborn School Committee, Pine Hill School Improvements.
Madam Moderator.
Yes.
I move that $200,500 be appropriated for improvements at the Pine Hill School, and that to meet this appropriation, $2,250 be transferred from 5-year unspent bond proceeds for Article 19 of the 2004 Annual Town Meeting Pine Hill Feasibility Study, and the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, be authorized to borrow the balance of $198,250 pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 7, Parens 3A and 7, Parens 9, or any other applicable statute, provided, however, that this appropriation shall not take effect until the town votes to exempt from the limitation on total taxes imposed by the General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C, Parens K, otherwise known as Proposition 2.5, the amounts required to pay the principal and interest on the bonds and notes authorized by this vote.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. I have an application for a presentation, and I believe Mr. Hess is going to give that for 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Frank Hess, 64 South Main Street, School Committee Chairman and a member of the Pine Hill School Building Committee. The other building committee members are Keisha Lifton, Greg Garland, and Sean Colleen, and we are well supported by the administration and Pine Hill staff. This request is guided, as we have been the past 2 years, by the 20-year capital needs plan that was prepared for Pine Hill School in November of 2012. The goal is to keep Pine Hill School safe, as energy efficient as possible, and suitable for the purpose for which it is being used. We want parents and other town residents to be comfortable and proud to say this is the school where we send our children. The first two items, the air handling vents and the classroom univents, impact comfort, energy use, and are due in their life to fail. The window project is the beginning of the third phase of window replacement for energy efficiency and comfort. The soffit insulation project is to remediate a situation where there was a great deal of heat loss. The hallway is cold on extreme cold weather days because the wind blows through the soffit vents from one side of the building to the other. Overhead pipes above the hallway actually froze, but luckily did not break on a very cold day a couple of years ago. To prevent damage, the custodians have to leave the nighttime heat on a daytime cycle on extremely cold days and pop some ceiling tiles to let some heat up to where the pipes are. The curbing and sidewalk issue is a real safety tripping hazard whose remediation is long overdue. The drainage issue is one that has an impact on moisture inside the school and also impacts the usability of the school grounds. This is one of the two air handling units in the library. They service not only the library, but all the classrooms in the library cluster. There are two similar units in the gym. Gino Carlucci and Keisha Lifton are working with the rest of the Energy Committee to prepare a Green Communities grant application for the energy-saving projects at Pine Hill. We cannot be sure of success, but their past town-wide grant provided Pine Hill with new lighting, which saved the town a great deal on the electric bill. Here are some visuals of the sidewalk and curbing problems. Okay, here you can see the water pooling along the foundation. And the water tends to wick through the cement and make the floors damp and require dehumidifiers to take some of the moisture out of the air. Here's the back playground for the younger kids, and we have refused to get them any scuba gear. There's a plan to rebuild this play area, but we will have to fix the drainage first. This is the area by the bus loop. The water is only about 1/4 of an inch from flowing over the door sill. And although a day or two after a heavy rain, you will not see this much surface water, it is not very far below the surface and still impacts the school. When you supported the replacement of flooring in previous requests, we went with tile and smaller removable area rugs for circle activities rather than wall-to-wall carpets. The full carpets would often be damp, which cannot be a good thing, and the kids in some rooms ended up with wet butts. I am requesting your support for this article today and a positive vote at the polls on May 12th. Thank you.
If there is no further debate, we'll go to the vote. Because this involves a Proposition 2.5 borrowing, it will require a 2/3 approval. We'll try for a unanimous voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Article 8, Regional School Capital Expenses.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Rubin.
I move that the town appropriate $163,069 from free cash in the Treasury for the purpose of paying its allocable share of the cost of various items of major equipment and building improvements, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto for the Dover-Sherborn Regional School District, pursuant to an intergovernmental agreement with the Dover-Sherborn Regional School District and the town of Dover to provide funding for such items.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, this is a majority. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Article 9, update the geodatabase.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Rubin.
I move that $10,000 be transferred from free cash in the Treasury for the purpose of updating the town's existing geodatabase.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Article 10, the Sherborn Library renovation and expansion.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Relis.
I move that $7,479,436 be appropriated for construction, renovation, and expansion of the Sherborn Public Library building, and any design, architectural, engineering, professional, and legal costs associated with this project, to fund temporary library operational space, storage, and moving expenses, furnishings and equipment, and to fund the payment of all other costs incidental or related thereto. To authorize the Board of Library Trustees to apply for and accept any grants or loans available for the project, including any grant from the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners, and to authorize the Board of Library Trustees to accept and expend funds and private appropriations available for the project. And that to meet this appropriation, the Treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, be authorized to borrow $7,479,436 pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 7, parens 3A, 7, parens 9, or any other applicable statute, provided, however, that this appropriation shall not take effect until the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners issues to the town or library a Massachusetts Public Library Construction Grant, and in FY 2016, the Board of Library Trustees delivers to the town privately raised funds of at least $2,845,833, and the town votes to exempt from the limitation on total taxes imposed by the General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C, parens K, Prop 2.5, the amounts required to pay the principal and interest on the bonds and notes authorized by this vote.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded, and I understand we have a presentation that's going to be made by Stacy Brandon.
You good? Okay. I am Stacy Brandon, 16 Deerfield Road in Sherborn, and I am the chair of the Sherborn Library Board of Trustees, a 9-member elected board. We are very, very excited about being here tonight to present this project. It's been a long time coming, 2 years of fundraising, and grant writing, more than 2 years of grant writing, to bring us to this, this spot. This project makes very, very good sense for Sherborn. It is a wonderful example of a public-private partnership. We secured a grant from the state Mass Board of Library Commissioners for $3.6 million that will be released to us this July 9th, I believe. We have waited our turn on the waiting list, and we will have that money released to us this year. It will be paid out in 5 different installments that will come at various points along the project, as happens with any of the school projects or other capital projects that are done through grants. We are asking the town to pay for $1 million of this project, And we have raised $2.8 million from generous donors in the town and out of the town, all with connections to Sherborn, that we will be ready to give the town in the summer. So, as I said, it's a great opportunity for the town. If we were to do nothing to the library building, and I know you've heard me over the years talk about this, and we've looked at every which way to do this, but if we were to bring the existing building up to all the fire safety ADA compliance, it's been estimated by the engineers and architects when we worked with them to do the preliminary design that it would cost $3.5 million, and of course we would have less room in the existing library. So we're looking at a project now of $7.4 million, all of but $1 million is going to be paid for the town for a brand new library that will take us for another 40 years. It's been very carefully planned. It's been given a lot of support by the town leaders, the Mass Board of Library Commissioners. I just yesterday got a letter of support and encouragement from Representative Linsky and Senator Ross saying that the money will be coming for us. So I just, at this point, would like to thank everybody who has worked on this project, and you all know who you are, and it's probably a lot of the people in this room. All of our generous volunteers that have brought us to this point through fundraising and meetings and everything else. These are some of the key features and benefits of your new library, and when it's built, it will now be something for all of the citizens in Sherborn to use. Everyone, it will be accessible to all. We will have more adult space. We will have very much more children's space, tutoring rooms, all kinds of areas, community rooms that we can use, conference rooms, a local history room on the main floor, so there's just going to be a lot there. As to timing, after this vote, provided we get the yes vote, we'll go to vote in May, and if we get that vote, because we have raised so much money, we will be able to hit the ground running in anticipation of the money coming from the state. We will be able to hire the owner's project manager and get all of the necessary paperwork and RFPs out there so that we can start this project as soon as we get the notification from the state, which will save us time, which saves us money. So we've been very, very fortunate by the generous citizens of Sherborn, so we're hoping that we can get this thing off and moving. The next phase after that will be the design phase, and in the beginning when I talked to everybody about we'll be back to you, we're going to do all of the design work, the interiors, all of that will happen in the next phase, as you can see there, through 2016. And then the library will be relocating. We are working on where right now, actively working, the trustees are doing that, and hoping that if all goes according to plan, we will open with a brand new library in spring of 2017. So that's it for my presentation. Again, I want to thank everybody. Our 9-member Board of Trustees is just overwhelmed by the amount of help and support and outpouring of generosity from the town for a project that we will all be able to use long into the future. So we're very, very excited about this. It's a great thing for Sherborn. It will be a wonderful thing for the middle of our town and should help make the town a better place to live. So thank you.
Thank you. I apologize. I think everybody's going to have to make a presentation with the podium in the middle of it. Okay. Is there any discussion on the library presentation? If not, we'll go directly to the vote. Because this requires a borrowing in Prop 2.5, it's going to require a 2/3 approval. We'll try for a unanimous voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. Applause is out of order. Article 11, Woodland and Goulding Street intersection.
Madam Moderator,
Yes.
I move that the sum of $95,000 be appropriated for the purposes stated in the warrant, and to meet this appropriation, $45,000 be transferred from Article 20 of the 2013 Annual Town Meeting, Western Avenue intersection, for which the project has been completed or abandoned, and that the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, be authorized to borrow $50,000 pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 7, parentheses 5, or any other enabling authority, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to apply for and accept grants for such of said purposes, or to apply Chapter 90 funds for said purposes, the amount to be borrowed to be reduced by any such grants or use of Chapter 90 funds, and that the Board of Selectmen be authorized to acquire by gift, purchase, or eminent domain, and to accept the deeds to the town of permanent easements for public ways, drainage, and/or other easements and temporary construction easements for the purpose of installing, constructing, maintaining, replacing, and repairing Woodland Street and Goulding Street West upon such terms and conditions as the Board of Selectmen shall determine to be appropriate, and authorize the Board of Selectmen and town officers to take all related actions necessary or appropriate to carry out this article.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and I have received a request for presentation time from Brendan Daly, who I understand is an abutter to this proposed project, and it would like to speak on it.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Brendan Daly. I live at 52 Woodland Street, and I'm in support of Article 11. Just want to make a quick presentation. Thank you very much. To explain how dangerous this intersection is and why it's so important to the families around Woodland Street to fix this problem right away. So there are currently 5 households with school-age children in the immediate vicinity of Woodland Street and Goulding Street West. In fact, there are 12 kids between the ages of 3 and 13 who take the bus right around this intersection. Now hopefully you can see this. Now, I've got a little pointer here to help out. This is the intersection in question. This is Woodland Street, Goulding Street West. This is Route 16 side, and this is 27. Now, this intersection, as it's currently configured, is a recipe for disaster. As cars travel towards Route 27, down 16, they're going downhill, so they're encouraged to accelerate. In addition, it's a blind curve, and there are 2 driveways that are blind driveways that you can't see, and kids are waiting for the bus in those 2 driveways. That would be here and here. Sorry. The 2 driveways right here and right here. The bus stops across the street, and the kids have to cross the street to get on the bus. Now, every day, cars jam on their brakes because they don't see the bus until the last possible second. Parents are out there every day waving at cars to slow down. And it's just a matter of time until some inattentive driver is unable to stop. And I think the results would be catastrophic. This is the current view coming down. This is what drivers see currently as they come down Woodland Street. And this is my driveway here. You can see my wife holding an umbrella. But the 2 bus stops here you can't see. You can't see anybody else. So this is a very dangerous intersection because of the very poor sight lines. Now, we've been working with the Traffic Safety Committee. My neighbors and I have been working with the Traffic Safety Committee for 4 years to try to solve this problem. And we've made some serious progress. 2 years ago, the voters of Sherborn voted to appropriate $22,000 for an engineering study. The engineers did their study, and they proposed a very simple solution, an obvious solution, to tee off the intersection. One other thing that they uncovered, incidentally, is that the road currently encroaches on my property. Now, I want to, for the time being, my wife and I, we're giving the town permission to encroach on our property. We have no problem with the encroachment. And if this article passes, we'll work with the town, we'll do anything reasonably necessary to make a permanent gift of an easement to make this proposed configuration work. And this is what the engineers are proposing. You can see here, they've teed off the intersection. So the cars are forced to slow down as they come around this curve. In addition, it greatly improves the sight lines. Now, this is an approach that the engineers did at the other end on Route 16 as cars are coming onto Woodland Street. They teed off that intersection because people were using it like an on-ramp. And it definitely helped that situation, helped people slow down. So that's what we're hoping to accomplish here. Now, this is the current sightline, or sorry, the proposed sightline. If we made this change, this is what it would look like. And as you can see that is the bus is at the first bus stop. There are 3 bus stops in a row where kids get on. That's the first one. The next one is at that white mailbox, and the third one is in my driveway. So this greatly improves those sight lines. It's fairly obvious this would make, you know, a huge difference and much improve the situation. Now, the engineers presented this to Traffic Safety Committee. The families in the area support this. The Board of Selectmen support this. Advisory Committee recommend favorable action. Capital Budget, on the other hand, they recommend no action. Now, I understand they're just doing their job. I can respect their opinion. They suggest another possible resolution, perhaps stop signs. Unfortunately, that's just not a viable solution. According to traffic safety, stop signs are not effective at controlling speed. Now, I know that they put some stop signs at the intersection of Woodland and Mill, and that has improved the situation somewhat, but at the same time, am I out of time? Sorry. It's improved the situation, but again, I see cars blow through there every single day, and this is just not something we want to solve with trial and error. So,
Thank you very much,
thank you.
Mr. Daly. Someone in the rear wants to speak?
Brad Van Brunt, 127 Western Avenue, Sherborn. I'm chairman of the Traffic Safety Committee. Brendan, nice presentation. A couple of corrections, however. Number one, the Traffic Safety Committee has been studying all manner of remedies for this intersection for 20 years, not 4. And we have vetted, I believe, every single reasonable and cost-effective means of slowing traffic on this stretch of road, particularly when it necks down and gets very residential with a lot of young kids. The second correction I would make is when we're referencing stop signs, according to the MUTCD, are not to be used to mitigate traffic speed. Stop signs are only to be used to prevent side collisions. So that's the reason a stop sign won't work in that application, whereas it did up the street at the intersection of Mill and Woodland. That was a nice, cheap, and effective remedy. This one won't work that way. So what we have is a shovel-ready solution that solves all the problems. And we have already have appropriated and spent the money to study the intersection. We have the plans. It's ready to go. And I would ask Mr. Jaimo if he might comment a little bit on the funding mechanism for this project, if you could.
Okay, but before...
Anyone.
Okay, before you speak, we have someone who's waiting here to speak, and then I'll come up here. Is that okay? Robert?
Robert Johnson, 272 Western Avenue. I would like to hear from the Capital Budget Committee, and also I think that, well, basically I feel that $95,000 is an awful lot of money to spend where it may be possible to do it a lot more economically with stop signs. Now, I just heard for the first time for me that stop signs are for preventing side impacts. Maybe one could look at this from a slightly different point of view, and I think a stop sign there would indeed, among other things, prevent side impacts. So I think might be good to investigate that a bit more thoroughly, just that rather than just assume that no side impacts would occur there. For that matter, I happen to have been involved in a side impact right there at that intersection.
I think what we'll do, Robert, is before Ben Williams is prepared to speak about the issue, your question about the capital budget, but before we do that, we'll come up here and hear from the selectmen, and then it'll go to Ben.
So the Board of Selectmen supports this article by a 2-to-1 vote, and Paul is going to explain further.
Thank you. I want to say a few things. We support this for several reasons. First, public safety. This is an intersection where there was a fatality some years ago. This has been looked at by an expert traffic engineer. Town meeting appropriated the money. The engineer did his work. It has been looked at by traffic safety, who has some familiarity with traffic issues, and they have recommended this. We want this to be safe for these neighbors. We want their children to be safe. Let's not wait for a tragedy to happen. Secondly, on the issue of funding, this, unlike the other projects that have been considered here tonight, there is no override. There's effectively no impact on the taxpayers, because first, we're using money that I believe originally came from Odessa that was used for a Western Avenue improvement, but the improvement never took place, so the money's being transferred from that account to pay for this. That's $45,000, and the rest, it was our intent to use Chapter 90 funds. We have gotten a record amount of Chapter 90 funds. Those are state funds. It can be used for this purpose. The third reason why we're supporting this is that currently the town is making use of somebody's private property, and we don't think it's the right thing to do for the town to be on someone else's property. This will give us a chance to provide some justice to the property owner who has agreed to convey the necessary property to the town to straighten that out.
Thank you, Paul. Ben, would we like to come over here and address Robert Johnson's question about capital budget?
May I just speak?
Oh,
or you
go
want me
ahead.
to- Okay. Well, you said come over here.
No, go ahead.
We were doing something new. No, the information we had at that was presented to capital budget last fall led us to believe that an incremental approach of trying a three-way stop, which had been so successful at the other intersection, we could try it at very low cost. If it solves the problem was solved. If it didn't solve the problem, then we could escalate to the more elaborate plan. That's it.
For those of you who don't know, the three members of the Capital Budget Committee, one of them is appointed by a sitting member of the advisory committee, and Ben Williams is that third person. So that's why he's answering the capital budget question. There's someone at the rear?
Yes, Rick Novak, 36 Nation Hill Road. I've been driving through that intersection the other direction, continuing down West Goulding for 28 years. And the road geometry was laid out by the Nipmucks. They weren't planning for our cars. And the curve is sharply banked to the outside. You don't need to be a NASCAR driver. And by the way, at the apex of the corner, there's a telephone pole. The fact that there's been only one fatality there in the last 8 years is a miracle. And I think we've studied it for 20 years. We've had the professionals come in. Stop signs are not going to work. Stop signs do not change roadway geometry. They don't work. Even if the engineers were foolish enough to allow them to be used for this type of purpose, they don't work there. We voted the money. We've got the professional reports. We've got parents waving down school buses. We've had a fatality. I think it's enough. It's time to do it.
Yes, there's someone else in the rear?
Me again. Susan Tyler, 26 Weston Avenue. I'm also a member of the Traffic Safety Committee. I believe I've been on traffic safety since 2004. And in preparing for this meeting, I went through my records. And one of the first recommendations in the year 2005 was that we address this intersection. We recommended doing the T intersection. And here we are 10 years later. Let's get this done. This is not just about speed and stop signs. This is about the sight lines and the safety of the people in that neighborhood and the people that travel through the intersection. Let's get it done this time, please.
If there is no other comment or debate, we'll take a vote. This requires a 2/3 majority because part of the funding is a borrowing. So I'll try for a unanimous voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Oh, by 2/3. Article 12, cemeteries.
Madam Moderator,
Yes.
I move that $6,000 be transferred from the Cemetery Enlargement Fund for the purposes stated in the article.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Excuse me, the people who are leaving, could you please leave quietly? There's still a meeting in session. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Article 13, unused borrowing authority.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Kantorsky.
I move that the town vote to rescind the unused borrowing authority for Article 3 of the 1997 Annual Town Meeting, septic systems in the amount of $200,000.
Is there a second?
A second, sorry.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate on the motion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Article 14, Finance Director / Accountant.
Ms. Moderator.
Yes.
I move that the town vote to amend its general bylaws by adding a new section to Chapter 3 as printed in the warrant.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I have received an application, a request for presentation time from Kitty Sturgis and the Governance Task Force. Yes?
I guess I'm
okay.
designated to make the presentation.
Okay, it's George Shea at the rear mic.
My name is George Shea, 19 Deerfield Road, member of the Sherborn Governance Task Force. I made the presentation to the advisory committee off of the same sheet of information that we had provided the participants in this meeting as they came into the building. I was congratulated that it only took the time frame that was necessary that I was allowed, so I'll attempt to make the same efforts here. It's a little difficult for me to see this because Kitty printed it out with small type. And I'm getting old. The proposal that you have in front of you provides a framework for the incremental implementation of the recommendations both from the Collins report and the DOR when they studied the finance operations of this town. It gives us the opportunity to implement in an incremental way after the town has had the opportunity to evaluate the effect of the expansion of the Board of Selectmen from 3 to 5, which was voted last year. It also provides for the recommendations of implementation on a gradual basis, and we think that it provides, along with another article that will be before the town meeting, the expansion of the duties of the collector to give the town an opportunity to see if finance operations can be conducted more efficiently with centralization of collection as contrasted with what exists today. It creates a finance director and accountant that will coordinate without necessarily ordering the various operations in the finance structure. It maintains local control over the town administrative structure and avoids the ambiguities and the rigidity inherent in the town's acceptance of Mass General Laws, Chapter 43C, which the chair of the task force has already addressed in her earlier statements relative to the town report. Substantial differing opinions exist at the state level relative to the effect of the town's adopting of 43C, and we thought that it would be better to implement parts of 43C, see how it works, before we engaged in the process of accepting a local governance statute. It establishes the direct reporting and accountability of the finance director to the Board of Selectmen, and is consistent with the standard business practices of having the chief financial officer and the chief operational officer. That would be the new accountant, and it would be the town administrator reporting to the executive body, which is, as pointed out by the Board of Selectmen chair in his opening statements, is the chief executive body of the town. It provides mandates, actually, that financial information be timely communicated on a regular basis from the Department of Finance to both the Board of Selectmen and to the Advisory Committee, and it makes those reports public documents available to the public on request or just as a matter of posting. The proposed plan is consistent with the town's use of bylaws to define the duties of persons where statutes of the Commonwealth do not enumerate the duties of those particular offices. The example that's the most easily seen is the director or the town administrator, who has his duties spelled out in the bylaws that we're attempting to amend. The system promotes performance-based and objective evaluation of the personnel required by the town's personnel bylaw and related policies. And it defines the office's duties in such a way that it will prevent what is inevitable in municipal government, how should I put it, expansion of duties and responsibilities and attempted expansion of authority.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll go to the vote. Requires a simple majority for passage. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion passes. Article 15, appointed treasurer.
Madam Moderator,
Yes, Mr. Williams.
I move that no action be taken.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that no action be taken. I did receive a request from Nancy Hess to make a presentation.
Please read the handout that we circulated before voting on this article. There's not time to speak to all the important points in this issue. The selectmen were not happy with the outcome when this was voted a mere 6 months ago at the special town meeting. They said it was too close. Too close to me means that we are not of one mind, and there are still serious questions to be answered. So the reasonable thing to do is honor that close vote and wait until there is a track record that can show we are getting it right and can bring a level of comfort to those we serve and those actually doing the serving. Don't think for a second this vote doesn't matter, that it's only to get the question on the ballot. Unless you support the advisory motion of no action at this town meeting and send the message that there are better ways of doing the town's business, we will hear over and over that town meeting voted this change and the ballot is only to ratify that vote. That ballot is not this May, but rather next year with no further requirement to discuss it, not even at town meeting, or no matter what your assessment of our government is by that time. So please vote yes to no action tonight. The Governance Task Force did not sponsor nor vote to support appointing the treasurer at the special town meeting. It was a Board of Selectmen article. The Government Task Force supported allowing it on the warrant, as do the selectmen, for every one of the articles that appear on any warrant without implying support. The Governance Task Force was called to task because they did not speak in favor. The position of that study committee has been that we should look again later, once we have a track record on all the moving parts. The new strong town administrator concept, getting the Board of Selectmen out of minutia and focus on policy, the 5-man board, which we have not elected yet, and now a finance director component to the accountant's position, assigning the responsibility for financial reporting and forecasting to a single point. We need more time to make an informed judgment on what should be the next step, and not just base it on a template and a wish list. The push for this change by the Board of Selectmen so far has been frightening to me, forcing agendas, not focusing on the consequences for the town should things not work out as they envision. The budget they originally submitted for the treasurer this year was stripped beyond comprehension, allowing any new person to be compensated for only 10 hours a week to dedicate to the job, where our former treasurer with experience of over 36 years budgeted 22 for the job and 8 for an assistant. They never asked him for advice or opinion. They also put control of the treasurer's staff under the new accountant. Thankfully, the advisory committee respected your vote to keep this an independent office, and they restored some reason to the budget. And I do want to acknowledge that Mike Giammo did help with that process. This article further proposes the appointed treasurer be classified in the personnel plan at the same level of authority and responsibility as the junior officers, various inspectors, and the waterfront director. This is your financial officer who by statute can, with a stroke of the pen or by a casual oversight, create havoc with your town finances. It is a heavy responsibility with a personal liability that exceeds most other positions, in that other positions are not required to be bonded and especially not required to make $100,000+ guarantee that they will do a good job. Although the term perfunctory has been used by some, I would hope that no one assuming the office of treasurer on our behalf would consider their obligation perfunctory. Excuse me. The DOR report, often referenced by the Board of Selectmen, also contains many positive things about your financial team, and the fact that you have been fortunate to be able to draw from your community professional, qualified people competent people to do this work. The day may come when we can't, but it is not today. Let's not allow that office to become so onerous that none of our own are willing to serve. Please restore some respect, dignity, and accountability to the office of treasurer and keep your right to vote your choice of who will serve you by voting to support the advisory motion to take no action on Article 15. That will be a yes vote. I'd like to close with 4 telling sentences straight out of the Department of Revenue report, page 15. Based on our observations, the accountant, treasurer, tax collector, and director of assessing are skilled professionals who communicate and work well together. Department staff also appear highly competent. From our vantage point, essential checks and balances appear to be in place and sound practices and procedures have been installed. Finance offices continue to work hard to build financial controls, which is evidenced by the town's clean audit reports. Please support the advisory motion to take no action. Thank you.
Thank you. Is someone in the rear to speak? I'm sorry, you have to stand at the microphone. I'm sorry.
I said I yield the floor to anyone who wants to make a counter presentation relative to the one that Nancy Hess just made.
Would someone else? Oh, sure. And then we'll take it down here.
Yeah, sure, thanks. And I thank Nancy for her presentation. This is a good debate. You know, we're not fighting the, you can't hear me? Is that better? Okay, thanks. This is not a referendum on somebody who served in this office, who may serve this office in the future. This is a recommendation by your Board of Selectmen about a better way to do business for the town. That's all it is. We would be derelict in our duties to the town not to bring this back for a vote if we believe it's the right thing to do. It has nothing to do with trying to force an agenda on the town. We're making a recommendation to you. You can choose to accept that recommendation or you can choose to reject that recommendation. We believe the best thing to do for the town is to create a vote at the next general election in 2016 to allow the town to appoint a treasurer in the future instead of electing a treasurer. That gives the town the field to choose from of eligible candidates not restricted to people who live in the town of Sherborn and choose to run. It avoids the potential that there would be a popularity contest or some other mechanism for choosing a treasurer in the future. This would be done through the kind of vetting you would do in any business to make sure that the person who handles your money is capable of doing it. And that's not to say that we haven't been very fortunate in the past and we're not fortunate now. We are very fortunate. We have very good people who have done this job, and we have somebody who's very good who has stepped forward to do this job for the next year. But we're trying to make this town a better town, the administration of our financial systems better, and we're looking towards the future. So I know there's a lot of angst about this issue. There's a lot of concern that this is some kind of a hidden agenda. There's no hidden agenda. What we're trying to do is make a better structure for our town government, one that works for us better, one that eventually is going to cost us less money and do a better job for us.
Yes.
My name is George Morgan. I live at 41 Bear Hill Road. Noted that the advisory committee has voted that no action be taken on this article. Its wisdom in doing so speaks also to the larger matter of our right to elect the treasurer. We're being asked here by the selectmen to vote to end our right to vote for the elected position of treasurer. Have we, Sherborn citizens and voters, voted irresponsibly in the past for the treasurer position? There's no evidence that we have. Have the people we've elected in the past acted irresponsibly or abused the position of treasurer? There's no evidence that they have. Has the office of treasurer in the past been valuable to the town, requiring for its effective functioning many hours per week? It would seem that over many generations that it has. Is the office of treasurer deserving the respect historically given to a salaried position? The history of the office in Sherborn says that it is. Then why are we, citizens and voters, being asked to surrender our right to vote for this office? One answer that we're being given here by the selectmen is that they no longer believe that the town's treasurer should be paid benefits. In order to ensure that in the future that the town treasurer does not receive paid benefits, the selectmen would have the position removed from the will of the voters and made a position appointed by the selectmen. As an appointed position, designated as requiring fewer than 20 hours per week, the treasurer would no longer be eligible to receive benefits. I believe that this Article 15 disrespects the office of treasurer as we have known it by unilaterally and unwisely restricting the hours available for the diligent conduct of the business of the treasurer and denying to the treasurer benefits well earned in the past for the amount and quality of the work performed. This is not the first time that this issue has been put to the voters, and in every instance in the past, as recently as last September, our citizens have voted in the majority to retain the treasurer as an elected position. It is time for the selectmen to now finally respect the will of the voters on this issue. I personally will not willingly surrender my right as a citizen and voter to freely elect the town treasurer. We all here tonight have the same right.
Thank you,
We should be
Mr.
thankful
Morgan.
for that we do. I ask everyone here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Yes, in the rear?
Yes, I'd like to urge that the body support the recommendation of no action on this item, and these are the reasons. Very similar to the presentation I just made, maybe inarticulately, the task force recommended an incremental change in the structure of the finance operation. And that incremental change is set out in the article that just passed. And the reasons that we went with the incremental change was to see and evaluate the changes that were made before we made any other changes. I would also point out that while the selectmen and others have indicated that the change from elected to appointed would be a money saver, would save money, I've seen no statistics relative to that claim. The fact that another argument that was made for the appointed position as contrasted with the elected position is that the appointed position would ensure the persons would be capable of engaging the duties of the treasurer. I suggest that when I look through the occupations in the census that there are substantial numbers of professionals living in this town that could easily accommodate the demands of the elected treasurer's position. In addition to that, it appears to me that there are some needs for the checks and balances, and I know that you've heard that particular phrase over and over again, but I believe that one of the reasons that we can point with some degree of security at the operation of the Board of the Treasurer's position as an elected position is that the elected selectmen can oversee and engage in activities if there's any negative doings in the office of elected treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Shea. Any other debate? If not, we'll proceed to the vote. This is a simple majority for passage, and everyone understands that this is a motion to take no action. So if you vote aye, that means that you agree that we should take no action. So all of those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Nay. I'll tell you what, I'm going to try a little experiment. I'm going to see if I can call it by looking at the cards. Would everyone who is an aye hold up their cards? Okay, put your cards down. Could I see the nay cards? I believe that the motion passes. Okay, Article 16 is changing the title from tax collector to collector.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Waldron.
I move that the town vote to accept the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 38A, as amended in 2014, and authorize the tax collector, under the title of Town Collector, to collect any accounts due the town upon agreement of the town collector and the relevant department head to whose department the accounts are owed.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any comment or question on this? If not, we'll proceed to the vote. All those in, oh, sorry.
I don't really have a presentation. It's just that I wanted to explain that this is the same thing that we've been trying to get in place for a couple of years, but we had to change the law first, and we've changed the law so it doesn't require the tax collector to collect all of the funds. We can use some discretion as how this is done, and it's my intent to see first if we can get a lot of stuff online so you don't have to come in to pay for everything at Town Hall. So I really just wanted to make myself available for any questions.
Thank you. Any other comment or question? Yes, Mike Jimo?
Yeah, just to say the Board of Selectmen has supported this by a 2-to-1 vote. This is just a good, efficient way to do business for the town, and Nancy and her office is very capable of expanding their role to assist with collecting funds.
Lucy.
Lucy Almasian, former town clerk for 21 years. I have some difficulty with this because does this mean that they're going to collect the fees if the police have anything going on over there? In the town clerk's office, they collect so many different fees. I don't understand how this can happen. You have a town collector, you have various different boards. We have not grown dramatically in the last number of years. It's been very efficient up until this point, and I don't understand really why you're changing the process. And the other thing that I feel is quite something to even consider is it's much better to have elected officials do one particular job and not have them do many different things, because a lot of the boards have various duties that are completely different from what a tax collector does. So I'm definitely against this one.
Lucy, since you're a teller, I'm going to have to ask you, since you spoke on the issue, if we have a counted vote, I'm going to have to ask you to not participate. You're a teller, and you just spoke on an issue. Okay. There's someone in the rear. It's Peter Lifford.
Peter Lifford, Board of Health. I'd just like to counter something Lucy said, and that is there are a lot of towns that have all fees collected at one place. It is the most efficient way to do it. The Board of Health collects over $56,000 of fees a year. I can tell you the vouchering and accounting of those takes way too much time. And to have it centralized and to have it all go in one place and all properly accounted on a comprehensive system is the right way to do it.
If there's no other comment, we'll go to the vote. This is a simple majority for passage. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Article 17, Personnel Plan Work from Home Policy.
Madam Moderator,
Yes, Mr. Rubin.
I move that the town vote to amend the Town Personnel Administration Plan, Section 4, by inserting a new Section 4D as printed in the warrant.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll proceed to the vote. It's a majority. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Article 18, Personnel Plan, Personnel Files.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Rubin.
I move that the town vote to amend the Town Personnel Administration Plan, Section 18, as printed in the warrant.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Article 19, Kennel Licenses.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Relis.
I move that the town vote to amend Chapter 5 of the general bylaws by adding Section 5 as printed in the warrant.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Article 20, Recreation Commission Land Control.
Madam Moderator,
Yes.
I move that the town vote to amend Chapter 3, Section 6.2.f of the general bylaws by adding, quote, Recreation Commission, close quote, after the words, quote, Town Forest Committee, close quote.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Article 21.
Madam Moderator,
Yes, Mr. Morrow.
I move that the town vote to amend Section 3.2, parens 18 of the zoning bylaw by adding the language as printed in the warrant.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll hear a report from the planning board, then we'll hear a report from the ZBA, and then we have a request from a presentation. The planning board report, please. Is this the planning board report, please?
John Higley, 14 Saddlebrook Road, Chairman of the Planning Board. The Planning Board sponsored this article jointly with the Zoning Board of Appeals. Planning Board thinks this amendment recognizes what the town wants and also recognizes and addresses the concerns of the abutters. It adds limitations that don't exist to the current bylaw. It's good for the town center and good for the community. The Planning Board agrees with the points that the Zoning Board are about to make. And the Planning Board voted unanimously in favor of this article.
Thank you. ZBA, Alan Rubenstein.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Rubenstein, currently the chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I live at 57 Oldfield Drive. Although this warrant article is being sponsored both by the Planning Board and the ZBA, it is really being proposed by the ZBA and is being proposed for one simple reason: to give the Zoning Board of Appeals the direct and clear authority to grant a special permit for the annual fundraiser that has taken place in each of the last 3 years of the Sherborn Business Association, the so-called Brewfest, which has taken place every spring at the Sherborn Inn, and which has featured outdoor live entertainment. Now, the Brewfest, many of you have attended it, and it's very, very popular, and it is a terrific function, both because it's a great occasion where we can all get together for a lovely evening, a lovely social evening, but more importantly, because it is a fundraiser for the Sherborn Business Association, and the Business Association uses the proceeds from the fundraiser to fund many worthwhile projects around the town, projects that are of such a nature that in these times of tight budget constraints would not otherwise be funded by the town. So it's been a terrific success, and it's been very popular. The problem is that our current zoning bylaw, which you will see in Article 21 of the warrant, it ends just before the underlined language with the words, "and provided further that it in no event is live or mechanical entertainment permitted outside of a building." So how, you might ask, have we been able to grant a special permit for the fundraiser of the Sherborn Business Association, which every year has featured outdoor entertainment, when the zoning bylaw pertaining to restaurants expressly prohibits outdoor entertainment? Well, we've done it by relying on another section of the zoning bylaw, a section not applicable to restaurants, but rather a section applicable to nonprofit clubs, which does not have any prohibition against outdoor entertainment. So each year of the last 3 years, we've relied on that separate zoning bylaw as the authority to grant the special permit for the annual Brewfest. And while the Zoning Board of Appeals has been comfortable that what we've done is perfectly legal, at the same time, we think we're probably circumventing the intent of town meeting many years ago when it passed the current section 3.2.18 pertaining to restaurants, which contained the express prohibition for outside entertainment. So we're coming to back to town meeting and asking you to amend the zoning bylaw pertaining to restaurants in order to allow specific fundraisers for nonprofit or civic organizations to take place, limited to 2 such events per year, per location, and subject to such reasonable conditions as the Zoning Board of Appeals might impose for the purpose of limiting the effects of noise, light, traffic, etc. To summarize, and I won't take up any more of your time, the issue here is very simple. If you like the annual Brewfest that's sponsored by the Sherborn Business Association and want it to continue with outdoor entertainment, vote yes on this warrant article. If you don't like the annual Brewfest, vote no on this warrant article, and you will be sending a message to the ZBA that we should not try to do indirectly what town meeting does not want us to do directly. Thank you.
Yes, I've had a request for presentation time from Elliot Taylor.
I object. I will be voting no, and I plead everyone else vote no. The Sherborn Inn was built with the understanding, a bylaw, 2/3 voted by town meeting, that there would be no outdoor entertainment. There was also a restriction of 130-seat maximum at the restaurant. We were assured there would be no objectionable noise or lights coming from the inn. I am in a butter 100 feet away from the Sherborn Inn. The length of this room here is about 100 feet. Here I sit, there's the party over there. I was opposed to it from the beginning, and opposed. I've been to all of the zoning board waiver hearings saying, no, there's no outdoor entertainment, but they've gone ahead and waived it. The lights from the Sherborn Inn have been shining on my house for over 25 years. I've been complaining for over 25 years. Yeah, the heck with me. 3 years ago, the Zoning Board of Appeals waived the outdoor entertainment law for one night over my objection. There have been 2 other one-night waivers by the zoning board over my objection. Now we have an article that would grant them 2 waivers per year. The zoning board will do as they please. If they'll waive 1, why not waive 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever. What's to stop them? Please vote no on this proposal. We also have a bylaw that says there'll be no objectionable noise. All 3 of these outdoor parties, I have called the police complaining about objectionable noise coming from the Sherborn Inn. I've been told, oh, they have a waiver. I says, we have a law that says there'll be no objectionable noise. I'm objecting to the noise as well as the party. So here we are, 100 feet away. You don't live 100 feet away. What do you care? I do live there, and I do care. And I think it's an outrageous situation and a damn lie by the management at the Sherborn Inn. And I just ask and beg you, no, they can get along without it for 360 whatever days a year. They can get along without it this other night. So please, 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 I think my rights are being trampled on. I'm a minority. Yeah, you discriminate against minorities. The hell with me. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot.
I have 5 minutes. I got a special permit to have a 5-minute presentation tonight. I had to go to the town clerk's office this afternoon and get the special waiver of the 2-minute law, which I think is absolutely ridiculous.
Elliot, excuse me, you're certainly welcome to discuss the motion under consideration. If you would like to talk about the zoning article.
I just want everyone to see, here's the waiver form that I had to get from the
Elliot, if you have anything else to talk
so that I could
about.
stand here for 5 minutes instead of the stupid 2 minutes.
Are there any other discussion? Yes, one in the rear.
Hi, Ed Rose, owner of Rose's Automotive, 26 North Main, past president of the Sherborn Business Association, chair of the Sherborn Brew Fest. This is our 4th year coming up. We have basically, we came up with an idea of creating the Sherborn Community Action Fund. Basically, we're giving back to the community the money that we raised, and we couldn't figure out how to raise the money. So we came up with the Brewfest idea with live outside entertainment, having people go in through an organized, buy tickets, raise the money to give back to the Sherborn Action Community Fund. In the past 3 years, we have given back over $25,000 back to Sherborn, the town of Sherborn, through the way of grants, and through educational and civic needs. Alan gave a lot of the stuff I was going to talk about up front. The bylaw states, as Alan said, that we cannot have live outside entertainment, and basically we were told last year this would be the last year they get around it. So I am asking everyone to please support this article. I'm looking for 4 hours of relief from the zoning bylaw. Nothing more, just 4 hours. And the next Brewfest will be June 12th of this year at the New Heritage. Okay, got to get that in too. But please, just support the article, and thank you.
If there's, oh, here we have somebody who wants to speak. Yes.
Hi, I'm Stephen Constantine. I'm Elliot's neighbor. Elliot's 100 feet from the inn. I'm 50 feet from the inn, so I'm directly across at 3234 North Main Street. I love the inn. I think it's great. Great spot. I'm really glad the Ziskins have purchased it, and I think it's going to become even better as far as food-wise and everything else. As far as having the events there, I'm sorry, I'm opposed to it. I don't think the way it's been structured, that there aren't limitations as far as time, as far as decibel level or noise or any of that. I think it's way too open, and I think it's a slippery slope. I got to agree with Elliot. We've got 2 that would be available this year. How many more are going to be next year? What hours of the night? All that. I just think if it's working the way it is now, and if we can get around it, and they're doing that, and it's difficult, let's leave it at that. Let's make sure it's difficult so that at least the abutters get some relief. Elliot, myself, and also next door neighbors. Tasha, who lives next door to me. She's got 2 small children. She's got an elderly mom. She's talked about it as well. She can't be here tonight, but like I said, I'm against it. Thanks.
Yes, there's the next person.
Christine Cooney, 55 Maple Street. I certainly don't want to speak in opposition to the Brewfest, but
And it would be nice if there could be such a thing as one exception. But I certainly understand Elliot's point of view. He's been speaking about this for so many years, and people sometimes kind of laugh, but I mean, Elliot's contributed so many things, valuable comments to this town, and I do think that if it were just a one-time exception, that would be great, but I think I'm not really taking a position. I'm just saying that I think that people should be mindful about the restrictions that were put in, and perhaps Elliot would be happy if it were only one night a year and no other noise and light coming from the inn. Thank you.
Yes.
Jim Campbell, 212 Farm Road. I am a past member of the Sherborn Business Association and a past officer, and along with Ed Rose, attended the Zoning Board of Appeals hearings on the special permit. I want to make 2 points about this the process that we're voting on tonight. First of all, it does not eliminate the requirement for a special permit. If you were to look at our special permits, you will find that we needed to erect a sound barrier. There was clear hours in terms of when the music would be. It had to be off at 10 o'clock and start, I think, at 7. Even though it was a 4-hour event, it was 3 hours of music. So there were, at each of the 3 years, it's been the same restriction. The problem the planning board, the zoning board of appeals had from the beginning was this precedent-setting nature. It seems to me that with restricting it to 2 events per year, that solves the precedent issue. The Sherborn Business Association has no interest in multiple brew fests per year, but I do know, for instance, that the Friends of the Library held a function there, would have liked to have outdoor music, but were prohibited from doing so because they saw the strenuous process we had to go through for the permit. The last thing I'd like to say is that the clear function of all this is to raise money for the town. And if you do it at a place where there has all the infrastructure, the kitchen, the staff, and so forth, because we serve food as well as sample the beer, you can raise money much more cost effectively, and there's more money to hand back to the town organizations. So I urge you to support this, recognizing it's a maximum of 2 events per year with the same controls that are already in place.
Yes, in the rear, and then we'll come down to Robert Johnson.
Rick Novak, 36 Nason Hill Road, also an associate member on the ZBA. I think Alan did a very good job, and Elliot did as well, of articulating sort of the clear either or here. And I don't want people to think from some of the other remarks that there's a sort of middle ground where the ZBA will keep doing this year after year, dressing it up as a civic organization or something like that. The board won't do that, and one of the reasons why we're here tonight is that we're not the lawless board that Elliot seems to think we are. We'll just do something. If town meeting votes not to do this, we won't be able to grant the permit, and that'll be what the town chose. So it's one or the other.
Thank you, Rick. Robert?
I don't always, Robert Johnson, 272 Western Avenue. I don't always agree with Mr. Taylor, but I believe that I do have to agree with him on this issue. 25 plus years ago, we, the town, made an agreement which would ensure that the neighbors would be at peace. And basically, if we vote for this, I think we're breaking that agreement. And I don't think that that's a good and responsible action for us to take. There may be other options for a brew fest that can not disturb the neighborhood. I think that those should be pursued. I think that we as a town need to keep our word. We need to keep the commitments that we make. Thank you.
Elliot, do you have something new to add?
You say you've raised so many thousands of dollars. You haven't offered me any of it.
Yes, is there someone in the rear who would like to speak?
Richard Robinson, 117 Mill Street. I'm in favor of this. I think that the town has been well served by having the Sherborn Inn as a good neighbor downtown. Things change over 25 years, and I think 25 years is enough time to prove that you can be a good neighbor, and that this is an important, whether it's the Brewfest or whether it's something else, it's an actually important event for the town that goes beyond the inconvenience, temporary inconvenience for any one person.
Thank you. If there are no other comments, we'll proceed to the vote. This is a zoning bylaw, so that it requires a 2/3 majority. We'll start off with a voice vote, and we'll try for a unanimous voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Nay. I think that has to, I'll tell you what, why don't we do our experiment again? All those in favor, please hold up your yellow cards. Those, put them down. Those opposed, it passes by 2/3. Article 22.
Madam Moderator?
Yes.
I move that the town vote to reduce the rate of interest that accrues on property taxes deferred by eligible taxpayers under General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 18A, from 8% to the monthly 2-year constant maturity treasury rate for July 1st of the applicable fiscal years as published by the Federal Reserve H.15 release, with such reduced rate to apply to taxes assessed for any fiscal year beginning on or after July 1st, 2015.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, this is a majority vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Article 23, tax relief.
Ms. Moderator,
Ms. Wolf.
I happily move that the town vote to transfer from free cash in the treasury $195,699 to be used to provide tax relief in 2016.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Article 24, transfer to stabilization fund.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Williams.
I move that $50,000 be transferred to the General Stabilization Fund from free cash in the Treasury.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, this incidentally is a 2/3 requirement. We will shoot for a unanimous voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Article 25, transfer to OPEB Trust Fund.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Rudin.
I move that $100,000 be transferred from the town's other post-employment benefit OPEB stabilization fund to the OPEB liability trust fund.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, once again, this requires 2/3 for passage. We'll try for a unanimous voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. 26. It is a citizen's petition, also a zoning article, and it's to amend the EA zoning.
Madam Moderator?
Yes.
I move that the town vote to amend section 5.6.5, special permit requirements, subsections, parentheses, and H, zoning bylaw, as recommended by the planning board and printed in the advisory committee report for this town meeting.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there something from the planning board?
Madam Moderator, John Higley, 14 Saddlebrook Road, Chairman of the Planning Board. I move that Article 26, I move to amend the EA zone bylaw 5.6.5, sections C and H to be split so that subsection C and subsection H of the planning board amended version of the article as printed in the town warrant be split and voted on separately, and I move no action on 5.6.1.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, this is a motion for division of the question. There are two parts to this article. There is section C and section H, and the motion has been made to handle them in separate discussions and votes. To make the division, we have to vote. It's a simple majority. We'll try a voice vote. All those in favor of the division of the question, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Okay, we're going to divide the question. We will begin with a report from the planning board on 5.6.5, section C. Planning board report on section C.
The planning board is legally required to review and comment on all zoning articles, including those submitted by citizens petition. The intent of section 5.6, Residence EA multi-dwelling projects zoning bylaw, was always to encourage housing for seniors and below market housing by allowing greater density than our other residential districts, while ensuring that such increased density is carefully planned and compatible with our local values. It does this by requiring a town meeting vote to both rezone land EA and approve a specific preliminary development plan at the same time, by allowing such projects only within 1 mile of the town center and requiring a minimum amount of open space as part of the development. In addition to the very specific requirements, there's a detailed process that includes hearings by the planning board in advance of town meeting, a hearing before advisory committee, then a town meeting vote. If approved at town meeting, the project then goes through a special permit process by the planning board with another public hearing. The citizens petition seeks to revise 2 sections of the bylaw. The planning board held a hearing on these changes to the bylaw. The change to section 5.6.5C regards building occupancy, and it clarifies section C by by setting 25% as the minimum number of affordable units in an EA development, since our section 5.6.5C currently has no minimum. Right now, it's just not specified. By clarifying the minimum percentage of affordable units to be the same as the state in a 40B type of project, the amendment also provides a developer an alternative to a 40B approach that removes the complex state oversight and restrictions on profits and allows the project to be governed by Sherborn's laws and process rather than the state's. The planning board recognizes the lack of clarity in the current language and agrees the town is better served by encouraging a 40B type of high-density development. If it is to happen, it's to be guided by Sherborn's laws rather than the state. And it, as I say, it clarifies, there is no percentage in the current language, so we think the citizens' petition is good, and we support the intent of the petition and believe the language that you see in the article, the planning board recommended version, we think is just a clearer version of the citizens' petition. So we support the planning board version of C.
Thank you. Is there any further comment or discussion? Yes, in the rear.
Michael Goldstein, 28 Whitney Street, Sherborn. Madam Moderator, I'm not against any of this, but I do want to know when I vote whether I will be voting in favor of the version that was a citizens petition on page 28 or the revised one that the planning board has recommended on page 29 for number C.
The motion was to approve the amended version of the planning board.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, in the rear.
Susie Wheelwright, 137 Hunting Lane. I want to make it clear right off the bat that I am for greater town control of development of all kinds. I am concerned about whether this is inviting so-called friendly 40B development, which of course, even though it's friendly and does have definite benefits, adds 75% of the total units to our unreachable 10% every time we have one of these. It does clarify somewhat the existing EA language, which is a good thing. I think there definitely are problems with that. But what it does not do is offer an alternative of elderly and affordable, which was a need expressed on a survey last year by the largest number of Sherborn seniors. They wanted something that was age-restricted and moderately priced. I think the intent of the EA is well understood. It's always been to expand the diversity of housing in the town. And I would, although this is a step in that direction, I would prefer to see the planning board themselves clarify the EA intent and offer a revised EA language after further study at town meeting next year to make sure that we don't approve something with consequences that we don't understand and don't intend. Thank you very much. I'll be voting against this, and I hope that there will be further study.
John.
Madam Moderator, I'd like to respond to those comments. I think with some added perspective that might address those nicely. For one thing, in terms of inviting a friendly 40B, this adds an incentive to prevent a 40B, but to bring it back to the town. A 40B type of project that's controlled by the state doesn't go to town meeting vote. It doesn't go through all that process I described. It goes to the zoning board directly, and there's no town meeting vote on a 40B of any kind, friendly or not. So if there's a question of having a high-density housing type of development as a 40B of any kind, or that would be governed by our EA bylaw, we want the EA bylaw because that means it comes to the town. It goes through all that process that I described with hearings, and it's subject to all the controls of the existing Sherborn bylaws. So in that regard, this amendment encourages a high-density housing type of project to come to the town and be governed by the town. The second thing is, I agree completely with the idea of adding further clarification and enhancing the purpose of our EA zoning bylaw. And coming back to you next year is actually, that's the intent of the planning board. We plan to, we will come back to you with additional language. What we're talking about now is amending a citizen's petition, and we're restricted to the intent of the citizen's petition. So next year, it can be a zoning board petition to further enhance or further clarify the language you see here. We just can't do that. So I'll stop. So I think that addresses those concerns.
Yes, in the rear.
Peter Black, 55 Maple Street. I'm sorry, it's probably the hour, but do I understand what we're considering here is a minimum amount of units in such a development to be affordable? Is that essentially what we're talking about, or are we defining what affordable is?
Can I refer that question to John Higley?
In our current bylaw, we don't define affordable. I'm sorry, we reference the state definition of affordable. So for a 40B project, it's defined, and for make sure I'm saying this correctly.
Well, my question is, are you defining what affordable is? Is that what we're talking about? Or someone's shaking their head, I don't have that right. Or are you making a minimum number of units affordable?
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, thank you. This language we're looking at here is establishing a minimum number of affordable as 25% or more, but it's establishing the minimum to be 25%.
Thank you.
If there are no further comments, we will proceed to the vote. This requires a 2/3 vote for passage, so we'll start off looking for a unanimous voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Why don't we do the show of cards again? All those in favor, aye. Aye. Well, apparently yellow cards talk. Okay, cards down. Those opposed? No, I think that's 2/3. Motion passes. And now we're going to proceed with the second division, which is subsection H. There's a report from the planning board.
Section 5.6.5H regards open space. The planning board supports the citizens' petition for amendment to section 5.6.5H regarding open space, which requires that 25% of the site be open space, and such open space must be in addition to the required setback areas. This requirement is difficult to meet when the large setback areas 100 feet from the front lot line and 60 feet from all the other lot lines must be excluded. The amendment to 5.6.5H retains this requirement, but it provides a second option to meet the open space requirement. And in the second option, the setbacks could be included. The setbacks can be included, but the minimum open space is increased from 25% to 50% of the site, and all the land within 30 feet of a dwelling unit is excluded. The land close to a dwelling unit is not excluded from meeting the open space requirement in our current bylaw. So this provides a second option. The planning board's edits to the citizens petition are only to replace the word yards with setback areas and the word parcel with lot. And the reason for that is that setback and lot are already terms defined in our current zoning bylaw. So very few changes to the citizens petition, and it's just changing a couple of words. The planning board supports the citizens petition with these amendments because it provides a second option that increases the total amount of open space.
Is there any discussion? If not, we'll proceed to the vote. Once again, this is a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion passes by 2/3. Okay, Article 27, another citizen's petition to amend the zoning map.
Madam Moderator,
Ms. Relis?
I move that no action be taken.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that no action be taken. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Article 28 is another citizen's petition to create an economic development overlay zone.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Pollack.
I move that no action be taken.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I did receive a request from Harley Kaplan that he would like to make a presentation. Are you prepared to do that? Good.
Madam Moderator, I would first like to say that I did not have the opportunity to speak in front of the advisory committee. So first I got to start by Harley Kaplan from 68 Maple Street in Sherborn. And so I did not have the opportunity to speak in front of the advisory committee, and as a result of it, it seems that the proposal here, the article here, was misconstrued. This is a simple article. The article was based upon two premises. One was to reduce the taxes here in the town of Sherborn and to keep the town of Sherborn as rural as possible. That's the objective of the article. In doing that, the articles which I'm going to present tonight, Article 28 and 29, the first article, which we're talking about right now, is to create economic development overlay zone. We're not talking about extensive zoning changes. We're talking about establishing criteria in the town that the people in the town would like to have something done with our downtown area. And that instead of just having it go through a committee and having it die in committee, that we would like to get things done more expeditiously. I am not looking to take any power away from the planning board. All this proposal does is say, we would like to do something better. If there's a proposal out there, let's move it along. If it's a good proposal, move it along. If it's a bad proposal, let's get rid of it. The people of the town have the right to have something done in a manner that would be consistent with their objectives, and I think we should be able to have the right to vote on this. And in conclusion on this, I would just like to say that I understand that there's a lot of things that, people don't like changes. But being in this town, I've been here for 24 years, I don't want another client's garage or the property that's on Main Street that's been dilapidated for years. It's time that we need to make things happen. And economic activity moves fast. And if we lose the opportunity because the proposal is stuck in committees or boards, and we understand everybody's a volunteer, and I appreciate that, but I'd like to get things done, and this, I believe, is the start of that process. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other comment, question, discussion? If not, we'll proceed to the vote. This is a negative motion, so it takes a simple majority to sustain the negative motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Article 29 is another citizen's petition to create a town parcel study committee. Once again, I have a request for a presentation time from Harley Kaplan.
Yes, thank you very much. This one's a little bit better prepared.
Oh, wait a minute. Before we can talk, we have to take a motion. I'm so excited that we're at Article 29 at 10 after 10. Would you like to make a motion?
Madam Moderator, I move that no action be taken.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Now, Harley.
Thank you. The objective was to reduce the taxes in this town and to keep the town rural as possible. There are 5 major properties located in this town, and they're all located in the downtown area. Those 5 properties are the land that was purchased by the town next to the town hall, Laurel Fields, Jameson Fields, which is the land behind Ed's garage, the land in front of the Pine Hill School, and the property on Butler Street. And all what this proposal is asking for is that those parcels have been identified, and I put together 5 different background information on those 5 parcels. And the Town Parcel Committee is not a select group of people, it's everybody in the town. And what I'm looking for is people's recommendations on those 5 parcels of land, and I will put together and compile the best uses of these land. And if we find out that nothing should be done with this land, then at least we understand what our taxes are going to look like in the next 10 years. Because if we don't maximize what assets we have, our taxes are only going to go up. And taking no action is going to be more harmful than anything else. So the reason why I'm here today, because I really didn't need to be in front of the town committee to do this. This is just, the idea was to get as many people in this town involved with the process as possible. So I'm going to have these packages available. I've already gotten some incredibly great ideas from many people here in the town. And several of those ideas will basically roll back taxes. And some of those ideas were basically, just to give you a highlight of some of those ideas, one was to take the land either in front of the Pine Hill School or Jameson Fields and to develop that into a sort of like a muse, a western town, where retail spaces are on the bottom, elderly housing is on top, and rental units. Not only will this accomplish reducing our taxes in the town, but also revitalize the downtown area and also generate revenue for the town. And also help us in putting together a housing reduction plan and avoiding projects that we may not want. Other great ideas were solar fields, moving the town garage and utilizing the land behind the town garage. Just a lot of great ideas. And most of these ideas didn't come from necessarily professionals, but people who've been in the town. So I'm going to be taking these proposals, putting them all together. I'm going to have these packets readily available for everybody. So I do hope, come up and see me. If you don't have a computer, I'll be glad to sit down with you, go over them. But I am going to be compiling in this list. What happens after we compile the list is, we'll see what happens then. So that's really what this proposal is for, is to make everybody aware of the fact that we're putting this together. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion or comment? If not, we'll proceed to the vote. There is somebody.
Michael Goldstein, 28 Whitney Street. Sorry to keep everybody late. For a while, I was chair of the Sherborn Housing Partnership, and we were trying to find locations to put affordable housing in town. And my interest in supporting this, oddly enough, is that it was interesting to look at all the different town parcels. I'm not saying that we should put affordable housing in those locations, but I do think since it's been about a decade since we did, there are not a lot of town parcels, and not all of them are contiguous, and some of them, in fact, it could make sense to trade some conservation land in one place for another. The idea of somebody at some point in time, beyond the planning board, which also has a lot of other work to do, to look at what parcels we have and are we allocating and using them efficiently, is not a crazy idea. And so, regardless of whether it reduces our taxes, it is useful, I think, to actually have a committee once a decade to look at the parcels we have after we voted on buying them or whatever, and seeing whether we're using them effectively. So I have to admit, I'm kind of surprised, but I'm in favor of this proposal.
If there's no other comment, we will proceed to the vote. This is the majority. It's a negative motion to take no action. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion passes. I would be willing to accept a motion to dissolve the annual town meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second? Anybody in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you very much.